Today we're building a really cute project. However, I don't even know what I want to call it yet.
But I think that we can wait to name it until after it's done. It's kind of like when you have a baby and then you decide what to name it.
Valid point. Okay, so we're gonna call this the No Name Project. And the best part about it is, you only need a couple sheets of plywood, a few project panels, a stack of wood, but don't forget the most important part, a ceiling medallion. Say what? Wait till you see it. All right, the first thing we're doing is building the box for this cabinet, and this is super simple. We have gone and ripped down our 3/4 inch plywood that we use for this into 11.5 inches. The great news is you don't have to remember all these measurements because you can download the free plans in the description box below. The very first step we're doing is we're marking 3.5 inches up from the base of each of our sides. We are going to add a line of wood glue just under that line because that's going to be the top of our bottom board. Pocket holes are going to be facing down. I'm going to line this up, make sure it's good and flush, while my assistant hands me screws. It's my job. All right, we've drilled 3/4 inch pocket holes onto these plywood sheets, and we're using 1 1/4 inch pocket hole screws and wood glue to attach. Once we have this side finished, we're going to flip this over and we'll attach it to Ashley's side. I love the cabinet design, but I really love your idea for the doors. Where did you come up with the design? Well, I ran across these ceiling medallions on Amazon, of all places, and it just dawned on me that it could make a really cute kind of piece of trim. I saw it as being like a piece of wood or a piece of trim.
It's not as rustic as we usually
Yes,
design.
but I do plan to paint it and distress it a bit, but then use some modern hardware. So I think it'll still definitely have that shanty touch.
Love it. We've got both side pieces attached to the bottom piece, and now we're going to add that middle divider piece, and we're using 1 1/4 inch pocket hole screws and wood glue. Refer to the plans to get the exact placement for that middle piece. Now we're trimming out the front of this divider with a 1x2 board. This just covers up the ugly plywood edge, and you've got a really pretty center divider in the middle of your cabinet. It's like a face frame.
It's just like a face frame, that's right. Speaking of face frames, guess what's next?
Face frame time! We're attaching the bottom piece of the face frame first, and we're using a line of wood glue and 1 1/4 inch brad nails along the whole bottom. Make sure that you're going into that bottom sheet of plywood. All right, next step for the face frame is the side pieces, and these are gonna go flush with the bottom piece, and we're gonna attach them to the sides of the cabinet. All right, so we have our bottom face frame, our two sides, and now we're going to add a strip across the front. So we're gonna add a little bit of wood glue on each end and attach using our 1 1/4 inch pocket hole screws. All right, we've got the face frame completely attached. Now we're gonna lay it on its back, and we're gonna attach the trim on the bottom. Now the first layer of trim is gonna be another 1x4, so we're gonna have one on each side, and then we're going to run a piece of 1x4 along the front too, and what we're doing is we're stacking it up. We're beefing up the bottom so that we can add pretty trim on top of it. Okay, so in keeping the fancy style of these doors, I thought this would be a perfect piece to add some pretty molding to. So I've picked out 2 different kinds of casings, which casings typically go on a wall or a door. They have a flat side, but they also make great base moldings. All right, so the first step is going to be to add our side pieces, and we want the thicker part facing the ground. Thick part, thin part.
So we have our 2 side pieces, and now we're gonna run a line of wood glue along the front and attach our front piece. All right, here's our front piece. Pop this in place. Now we're also gonna come up top real quick and do the exact same thing. However, we're using a slightly different piece of trim. Still a casing, but I went with a slightly smaller piece up top just to give it a different look. And this time we're gonna have the fat piece face up.
This is looking really fancy.
It is pretty fancy, isn't it?
I like it.
I stepped out of my comfort zone a little bit.
Here's your one chance, fancy, don't let me down. It was red velvet trim and it fit me good.
So we have our trim done. Now we're going to flip this cabinet over on its front, and we're gonna add 2 shelves.
This looks really expensive, like fancy and expensive. Now it's time for the middle shelves. You can put these shelves wherever you want. Inside you can even use pinholes and make them adjustable and add multiple shelves. We're putting ours at 13 1/4, and we're attaching them with wood glue and 1 1/4 inch pocket hole screws. Now we're gonna flip this upside down and attach the top to it. And this is just a project panel that we've cut to size. So I'm gonna add just a line of wood glue we're attaching the top from the inside of the cabinet, and we've drilled 3/4 inch pocket holes, and we're using 1 1/4 inch pocket hole screws.
So, the final step on this cabinet is cutting down the plywood for the back to fit, and then we can build some doors. Woo-hoo. We can fancy it up with some doors. Cabinet is built, we're just gonna build the doors now. We can actually build a door right on top of it.
Got our own little workbench right here.
That's right. These doors are so simple. This is just 1/2 inch plywood we've cut down to size. Now we're trimming out each side with craft boards. These are 1 1/2 inch craft boards. Just attach it using pin nails and wood glue. So we have our door built, and now we have the fun part. Enter ceiling medallion. Oh! So I am going to add a big hunk of wood glue on the back of this guy.
Hunk.
A big hunk. That's actually a technical term. You're welcome for teaching you. So we've added wood glue to the back of the ceiling medallion, and now we're just adding a few brad nails to hold it in place. All right, the door is done, so let's go build the other door, and then we get to add our hardware.
So fancy.
All right, doors are done. Now we're gonna add these really cute black hinges. I will link to those in the description box. We're gonna add 2 on each side. All right, last screw. Hinges are done.
All right, let's try it on for size.
How cute is that?
I love it.
So all we gotta do now is get a coat of paint on this. I'm thinking like a dark gray, maybe distressed. Add my handles, attach the doors.
I love it, it's so fancy.
That's it. I think that needs to be its name.
The fancy farmhouse cabinet.
It's happening, guys. You just saw it right here. And if you build it, be sure to share it with us. We can't wait to see it.
And make sure you subscribe below.
You're so fancy.